I'm going to start all over again because that means they didn't hear nothing. That means they didn't hear nothing. So if you're in here and you just got in here 20 minutes after I just started, which of course this will be an edited video. So welcome to the first AM version of Purge of the BS. We are going to get into it, and I am going to make a quick statement once again, as if we're back at the top of the show, because it's just been brought to my attention that folks couldn't hear the microphone audio. So I apologize for that, but I guess it is what it is. At this point, what I want everybody to understand is that we had a conversation. A couple of friends of mine, you know, my man Brix, my man Bravo, we had a little conversation couple months ago when the entire change was made between Joe Biden and Harris, right? Where they did the swap out. And in that swap out, we had a really great convo. A lot of people didn't get to see it because, you know, the algorithm doesn't really know us yet. So we're still working on different podcast angles. And so let me run the clip for y'all again, because I don't know if y'all heard it the first time. And I want to make sure that it is in stone on the internet how I feel today. Now, I'm running out of time, but I got enough time. So let me go ahead and transition. This start
29 seconds. That's what I said about wedding night.
I promise I will finish it, okay? Just give me 30 seconds here, okay?
Sounds like prom night.
Right. Here's what my thing is.
Pause.
I understand what this is about, but I also am leery of what's to come as far as the hate mongering, and I'll call it how it is. It'll be one of those similar to how Joe Biden said, if you're not black, you know, you know, if you don't vote for Joe Biden, you're not black, right? It'll be some situation where if you decide that you're not voting for Kamala Harris and you happen to be black, whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't even matter. That'll be a thing. Then it'll be, if you are male, it'll be you don't like women. Mm-hmm. Then it'll be, you see what I'm saying? And it'll force some people to just try to protect their, I guess, image because they don't want to look a certain way. And I don't want people to vote like that. I think that's
the problem with that line. The problem with that line of argument is he's been dealing with a zombie for 4 years who wasn't able to verbalize his arguments properly. So we had to lean on the guilt trips. You know what I'm saying? She's able to speak well, eloquently, and prove a point. I mean, she's a lawyer, bro. You know what I mean? So if she just stays on topic, if she speaks to the issues that matter to people, let the other side be racist. Let the other side be sexist. It'll just show their cards.
So I got to stop it there again, because that was the integral point of that conversation, right? Was my man Bravo definitely called this correctly, that he said, let the other side, let them be racist. Let them be, let them be sexist. Let them be the ones that utilize that, right? But this is what happened. It went in the opposite direction, and that confused me. So because of that, it got me into a position where I started to scrutinize what I was seeing. It's as simple as that. I started to scrutinize it because it didn't look good to me. Like it wasn't as digestible as it would have been if, like, let's say that the so-called Republican Party, right? Let's say that they would have literally utilized the idea of don't vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman. Like if they'd have came from that angle, that would have totally lost at least half the voter population, right? So when Bravo was saying his piece, the expectation was that that's what was going to happen. Now, this was a few months ago we had that conversation. And now watching it and what has now happened, with Obama recently scrutinizing, black men for just not throwing their support behind Harris. The reason why they're not doing that is because y'all, and I mean the Democratic Party folks, whoever's the decision-making group behind that party, right? You decided to parade her out here in such a way that it was disingenuous and to some degree disrespectful to Black people in a like a more general sense, because it was, you know, we're used to every 4 years you'll bring Snoop Dogg on stage or whatever. You know, it's like, all right, we get it. But the representation of the actual, the representation of the candidate, let me say that, the representation of the candidate was better. Like, I'm going to rewind the tape because I believe that I couldn't be heard for the first few minutes on this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I take care of that so that it's heard, so that everyone understands where I'm coming from. First and foremost, I would want nothing more than to be able to look at the office of the president and see a beautiful, strong, smart, highly capable Black or brown woman in that position, because the position itself is a very highly sought after position. So anybody of any color who gets that, of any gender, is respected to a degree by me, you know? So we'll start with that. So I would love to see something like that. I just feel like instead of giving us the best of what I know Black women to be, they try to, I hate to say it, but liken her to the worst side. I know that scene, I'm trying not to be harsh, because I feel like it was a noble attempt, right? I see what was trying to be done. But let's just be honest. When it comes to voting, right? Numbers wise, the Black vote doesn't really mean that much. I mean, it means something. It does mean something. But if you can get the 75% on your side and not the 13 or the, I don't know what it is these days, but it's like 12, 13% Black people in the actual country. Now, I don't know if that's a voting age or if that's just a general number, but the point I'm trying to make is if you get the 75% to get behind what it is you're talking about, then that group is who gets you into the office. That's the honest truth. And we all know this. Everybody knows this. That's why when Obama got elected twice, even as Black people, we know, okay, we got behind that, but he was elected by the greater majority of the population, which is not Black. So when they presented him, they didn't present him like he was from the hood per se, or that he was coming from the struggle, or not. You understand what I'm saying? They didn't try to make him real and they didn't do all that. He did his little subtleties with the bump with his wife and stuff like that, but they weren't having cookouts at the White House, and you know, they weren't doing concerts on the lawn, and they weren't having, you know, weird parties or something. And you see what I'm saying? They didn't present it like he was lower crust. They presented him as upper crust. And an upper crust person, even in the pandemonium that is an election year, is not going to allow you to demean or bring them down to a certain level just to pander to a very, very small percentage of the population. They're not. So I've been hit with, you know, that whole thing, your mom's Black, and you know, and I said, there's no problem with her Blackness. I could care less personally. You give me a capable whomever human and they're doing, you know, what's needed to be done, then nobody's going to have an issue with that. And I don't have an issue with Kamala Harris as a person. I don't, because she ain't never done nothing to me personally. What I do have an issue with is her campaign presenting her in a disingenuous way towards people, as if people don't have sense and won't start poking holes through the damn story and making her hard to trust. She's not the best example of the Black woman, is all I was saying. My mother would be a better, I hate to say it. My mother's educated. She's smart, right? She's not all in the tabloids, don't have no scandals or nothing like that, right? But guess what? They can't poke a bunch of holes in her story. It is what it is. It's an authentic story that starts in one place and then she moved to New York and then there was me and you see what I'm saying? It's an easy story to follow. There's pictures and there's family members and there's everybody's around that can vouch for everything that's being said. So there's no questions there. It makes it easy to find the person authentic, which is why people are gravitating towards that other side, is because if nothing else, they know who that guy is. He's dangerously honest to a point to me that which could be a fault, but to others it's like, well, at least we know where he comes from, like what he's thinking. We don't know if he's doing this to just be nice. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna drag it out because I made a promise that I'm not gonna drag this particular post out. This was more or less the test. I wanted to also identify that myself and my boys, we had this conversation months ago about the panderism and how it was going to turn into, if you don't vote this way, you don't like women. Like, what? I'm just being honest. I love women. Like, in a general sense, I think they're pretty cool, right? So I don't have that hatred, so that doesn't make sense either. Then it was, like was said in the same thing, you have to vote because you're black. And you didn't see the whole video, and I'll make sure to put it in the description. But Bravo also said in that video that the problem is the contrast of what we're coming from. And in a sense, he kind of was saying it's almost a softball pitch. If you can put the words together, speak to the issues that matter to the people in a great sense, stay on topic and not be, it would have been great. But that representation is not what they gave us. And that's where my issue is. I feel disrespected in that regard. I just feel like they did this with her because they could, and she wouldn't put up a fight, and she would just go do the press conferences they told her to do and read the cards they tell her to read and that kind of thing. And I don't want I don't like that image of the black woman as a puppet. I don't like it. Because you can tell in certain situations she's not even comfortable doing this thing. She obviously is not a beer drinker. So why? You see what I'm saying? To appeal to what? Beer drinking Americans? Most people that drink beer would only care if you adjusted the cost of beer. Whether or not you drink it does not matter to them. To most people. Now, I guess if you drink beer all the time and you're like an alcoholic, which has also been said. So here's the thing. If you know that there's a rumor that she has a drinking issue, right? Why would you, and when I say you, I mean the campaign, why would you put her in a position to show her drinking anything? That's stupid. You see what I'm saying? Nobody else sees this? Anyway. It's like the sleight of hand thing. You see what I'm saying? You know that people are looking at this person this way. And you probably should not want them to look at this person that way. So why put them in a position where they can be seen that way? It just seems counterintuitive. And because of that, that's how she keeps ending up on Purge of the BS. Because they're putting her in these BS situations and it's making her look bad. That's it. Because I know that she listens to her camp. I don't think Trump listens to his folks at all. Like they say stuff, he just does whatever the hell he wants to do. But I think that she listens to her camp. And they're telling her to do this. They're the ones setting up those appointments. She's not the one scheduling the interviews. She's not the one saying this is the direction we're going to take as far as the public appearances and trying to become part of the social media game and, you know, paying content creators to endorse her and stuff like that. She's not even part of that. She's just the face that they're using to parade the idea. So it makes it unauthentic. That's the problem. And I just don't want anybody, like, you want to vote for her just because she's black. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But don't act like they're not doing what I'm talking about too. They're making it look bad for the black woman. That's not the strength that I'm normally used to seeing from the strong black woman. I don't like to see her put in these positions that are demeaning to not just herself, but the voter base that she should be going towards. Not everybody likes Meg Thee Stallion. But nonetheless, I ain't going to kill it on them. I only got a few more minutes left because I got some other stuff I got to do. But I had to come on here and say it. I have nothing against Kamala Harris as a person. I do have something against how she's being puppeted in the media, and her stories are getting holes poked in them because they're building the stories instead of just telling the truth and letting her be her authentic self. And if people accept it and like it, let them. And if people don't like it, let them. That's it. It's not about whether she's black, white, tall, short, has a weird laugh or a great laugh or whatever she does, right? It's as simple as, are you capable of this position? And can we trust you with the nuclear codes? Now, granted, at the end of the day, no president can do anything single-handedly. Everybody knows that. So all this talk about whoever's coming in and doing dictator type stuff on either side. Kamala Harris is not coming to your house to start snatching up your guns. They don't even have a real plan for that because they don't know what to do with the guns that people bring. See what I'm saying? So you don't even really have to worry about that. That's crazy talk. I hate to say it like that, but that's just talk. It's just something for them to go down to Congress and chat about for like 7 straight hours and waste your tax money. That's what that's about. Nobody's changing nothing about gun laws right now. What they do need to change is the laws that go for parents that purchase weapons of certain types for young children. That does need to be addressed. If you put an AK in your 13-year-old's hand and send them to school, you should be held accountable for that. That seems like a pretty simple, straightforward kind of thing. So just to let you know, that's what's going to happen. They're not going to start snatching up all the guns. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And Trump's not going to come in and snatch everybody's money or whatever it is. I don't even know what the narrative is these days, but that's the problem. We don't know what the narrative is. We don't know what's true and what's not. If you go on X, you'll see all types of stuff. If you go on Reddit, you'll see all types of stuff. We don't know what's true and what's false. We get an interview with CBS, they're editing the stuff. They're changing people's answers. How do we find out what the truth is? It's right here. It's right here in these eyes. I can see bullshit. Most people can. Sometimes we ignore the red flags of bullshit. Sometimes we do. For the sake of she fine or something like that. I can't tell you how many men have tolerated things. And I don't know about women, but I know men, because I am one, have tolerated things from women because they look good. Like, yeah, I know she's toxic and I know this. I know she slashed my tires. But at least she looks good in pictures. That's narrow-minded thinking. And eventually you grow out of that and you realize, okay, there's more to life than just something that looks good. And that's how I feel with Kamala Harris. I think that she could look the part, but what they did was they fumbled the presentation, dropped the plate right on the floor, and now we're all looking at it like, what happened? Why'd you do that? And now we want to get people who do not identify with certain things to now identify with things that are part of a small piece of the population. Why'd you do that to her? She worked her whole life to get to the vice presidency, and now she gets to go out like with all these holes poked in her story. Now she's not black, and she's not this, and she did that, and da. You see what I'm saying?
And in the situation with Tim Walz, now, like I said, I still got to do some more investigation. But if he gets found that he really messed with some 14-year-old boy, come on, man. First of all, he's already in office. He shouldn't be, if that's the kind of stuff he was doing. But they do background checks on everybody in pretty much every job these days. So how are people getting that high? I mean, somebody's going to say, it's money, it's money. It probably is. Probably is money. Most likely it's money. I'm just going to have to go with money. It's definitely money. And people with money do get certain privileges. Money can't buy happiness, but it can buy you things that make you happy. Never forget that. But before I get up out of here, like I said, I got a couple more minutes here because I'm just here so I don't get fined. So if you jump into this live, I'll be here. I'm going to start the day show. I know it's going to be slow at first, but I have faith in the people that will start tuning in. We can start talking because the stuff that you're hearing on the internet, you don't know what's real and what's not these days. You don't. I wish it was easier to decipher. I wish that those blue ticks on sites meant something other than the fact that somebody paid for it or something paid for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, what are we supposed to believe? Are we supposed to believe that Vice President Harris was expecting this and was primed for it before it happened? I don't think so. I think they got together, they came up with this plan. We're going to make her cool and we're going to make her this and down to earth and da-da-da-da. And they tried it and it's failing because it's not the best look for black people. Like I said before, when Jesse Jackson was running, he wasn't drinking like St. Ides and, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't appearing in NWA videos or doing stuff like, you know, showing up on, what was out back then? In Living Color or something like that. I'm thinking of the timing, but he might have been on In Living Color because Jesse Jackson was pretty funny. But nonetheless, the point I'm trying to make is Jesse Jackson was not trying to be hood per se. And I'm not saying that Kamala Harris is trying to be hood. Her camp is trying to make her hood. And she's not, so it comes off phony and people don't like it. And that's what's happening. And I would prefer them to not do that with the black woman. That's all I'm saying. Even if she loses, she doesn't have to embarrass herself or demean herself or her standards or whatever. And even if those are her standards, then she should stand on them differently. She should be comfortable drinking the champagne of beers. But who cares if you drink beer? Like, I don't know. Personally, I don't care if she drank a beer. But if she did, that's cool too. Because sometimes I drink a beer. So I see you might have been identifying with my beer drinking side. But that's not what I want from the black woman. I don't know. I want her to be the queen that she is. I don't see why that's so hard for everybody to catch. Yes, I'm critical of her. I would be critical of my daughter if she was in the same position. I'd be like, sweetheart, why are you doing that? That's not even you. Like, just be you. And if people like you, which at some point they obviously did, because you wouldn't have gotten that far without nobody liking you, just be somewhat authentic. And don't let people push you into areas that are not authentic to yourself. Don't let them. Why let them push into you like that? Pause. But stop letting people just enter your space and tell you this is what you must represent. And you don't put up a fight. You are entitled to your own opinion. It's as simple as that. That opinion might be crappy, but you're entitled to it. But if you allow somebody to parade you and puppet you in a way that you are not comfortable with, then you're disingenuous. And that's what I'm saying. She doesn't look comfortable because she's not. Because it's not her. It's the camp, it's the campaign, it's the crew, it's the Democrats expecting black men to just do what they say. First of all, we aren't even that unified. to just throw us all in one group like that and we just vote a certain way. There's way too many different levels of blackness, if you want to call it that. There's way too many different types of black people because black people represent different castes within society anyway. So you've got your black boule, you've got your athletes, you've got these, middle class guys, you've got your blue collar black people. They're all up and down the thing, right? So if you're only like pandering to the lower ends of these things, then you're only going to get the low hanging fruit. That's it. And that's embarrassing because the strong black women that I know, the queens that I know, the ones that I see some online and stuff like that, they're not low hanging fruit. And that's been my issue. So if I couldn't express it any better, I think I got it up out of me. It's not Kamala Harris at all. I don't like that they're presenting her in such a way that's obviously uncomfortable to her, and it's uncomfortable to me. Because if that was my mother or my sister, and they were putting her in a situation, like if my mom was like, yeah, I'm about to go on Colbert, I'd be like, Mom, don't go on Colbert drinking beer. Like you can go on Colbert and just have a conversation with Colbert, because that's cool. Colbert's okay, but don't go out there on Colbert having a cold beer, because that's not what you do anyway. And who are you you can't peer pressure my mother. You understand what I'm saying? Who are you to say, this is what you do. You got to go, in order to do that, nah, man, I don't get down like that. That's what I would have expected. But they spoke to her ahead of time about this. They spoke to her camp. And that was mentioned on the show. If you haven't seen that interview, they do mention that it was discussed beforehand, not only that they would have a beer, but exactly which brand it would be, which was Miller, which is made in Wisconsin, and she's trying to get Wisconsin vote. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, we get that you're pandering, but some people don't like it. They just want you to be yourself. And if that's who you are and we like you, then that's the end of it. You be overdoing it. They overdoing it. I keep saying it's overdoing it, and when you overdo it, it looks disingenuous. It looks like a lie. And that's why people start poking holes in it. It's not authentic, so somebody's eyebrow raises, and then before you know it, you got people flying to Jamaica checking out your family history. That's crazy to me. Anyway, I'm not gonna do it to them, because you already know. We are in a position right now where we're expected to not pay attention. I don't care who wins this election. Pay attention. Pay attention to what's really going on. There's a whole war happening that you think we're not involved in. Oh, they're very involved in that. They're very involved in that. And I don't know who in this election is really the person that's holding that ulterior motive secret. But they are all the way in there. They're sending troops. They're sending missiles. They're sending all types of stuff overseas to fight wars overseas. And they didn't ask me about it, like if I was cool with that. So I guess if the question is asked as part of your determining factor of voting, maybe that's where it is. But they didn't ask the American people about none of that. Because if they would have asked us, we would have said, make sure you got money for the people in the hurricanes that are coming. It's hurricane season. You see what I'm saying? They don't ask us. They just do. And that's both sides. Both of them. Think I'm lying? You think I'm lying? Do your own research. Neither one of them, once in power, is 100% dedicated to uplifting you. What you have to do is catch things on the rebound. I'll give you a perfect example, and then I'm going to get out of here. A few years ago, there was a change made in the tax code so that certain businesses could come back to the U.S. As a result of that, those businesses had more money. As a result of those businesses having more money, they decided to open up certain positions that weren't available before for higher salaries than they had previously. And people got those jobs who were already working at the company, like a way to promote from within without forcing anybody to do anything different than keep doing the good job they were doing. This happened as a result of changes in tax code that happened way at the top level, right? Now, I know they call that, what is it, trickle down economics? All right, but let's not get into the weeds with this. The point is, some people that had the money made more money, so that more money turned into more money for other people. And those other people were the working people. So people did benefit from a lot of different things over the last few years. They have. We're not going to debate that. We're going to debate how they presenting the black woman, because I'm going to tell you right now, if my mother, who is, you know, super respectable woman, anybody who knows her, but if she was, and I would even test her friend group, my pops too. I know, Pop, if you watch this, I know for a fact, if they had Ma on there drinking brews and all that, you would be like, yeah, we're not doing all that. Right? And that's the issue. So if you can't handle that, I don't like that, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. We're just going to have a difference of opinion. I don't like it. I'd rather them present her as a really respectable queen level person. They didn't even start that way. They didn't even start that way. And I think that's it. That's literally, that's the problem. That's the problem right there. And another thing, anyway, hold on a second. I wasn't done. That was an accidental transition, and I'm not gonna let y'all off the hook like that, because I only got like 2 minutes left anyway. So nonetheless, I'm being real, guys. I'm being 100% real. If you have not heard anything that I've said in this live stream, in this video, make sure you hear this. Like and subscribe. Make sure that you hit that like button. Make sure you share this content. I'm just getting started here. Let's purge the BS.